I'm here with Sam Pearson from Hearst Networks, EMEA. Sam, tell us a little bit more about your role at Hearst.
So my role at Hearst Networks is quite multifaceted. So I am the head of short-form commissioning within the programming team, but I also sit within the kind of marketing team, like from a little bit kind of looking at the creative production, paid media, the organic social media production, basically anything that Hearst Networks does that is production focused or commissioning from a digital first perspective, social media first, has my fingerprints on it.
Brilliant. So you've just come off a really interesting session with a bunch of digital commissioners. If you had to provide a bit more colour in terms of shows you've commissioned, projects you've worked on, could you pick out a couple of examples for us?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, so one that isn't out yet but is coming up called History Crush, I'm really excited about. So that is with a TikTok and Instagram creator called Katie Kennedy. She's called the History Gossip online. She has a really kind of fresh, exciting, new take on history communication. Very, very, very different. I am not going to try and imitate it because I'll do it very, very poor justice. I can only kind of recommend that you go and find her and look at it yourself. But she's got this. She comes at it from a historical perspective. She's got all of the academic qualifications, but it's it's coming at it from a comedic perspective, entertainment focused. But it gives you that real kind of like historical insight at the same time. I'm really excited about that one. That's coming out at the end of May. One that we've just done, that we've come out of at the end of last year, called Unbreakable. Survivor stories, real kind of like value proposition for me in terms of kind of getting unheard, marginalised, misunderstood stories out to a true crime audience. Really, really challenging watch and listen. It went out as a mid-form series and as a audio podcast. That one for me is incredibly powerful because it's doing a job which really represents to me why true crime is important as a genre. It's not just about entertainment, which is obviously what the TV industry is kind of like at its heart, from a base perspective is what it's all about. Unbreakable does the value proposition as well and really kind of demonstrates why we should be doing things like true crime and why we should be commissioning and producing in this space to really make sure that the contributors that we got in on that series can really kind of make sure they're sharing their stories. I mean, in there we had a female genital mutilation survivor talking about their experiences and their road to recovery afterwards. We had a survivor of domestic abuse, survivor of gangland violence. Real kind of like hard-hitting, challenging conversations.
And that kind of feeds in. You were talking about your approach to true crime. It's about victim-centric, victim support kind of stories, isn't it?
For sure. I mean, as a brand, linear space, digital focused, we are very victim-centric. We're very sensitive in our approach. We always get incredibly rewarding feedback from the contributors and the people that we work with, the production companies that we work with, about how we demonstrate and represent our stories. And that is kind of fundamental and at the heart of our brand and how we want to kind of position ourselves across all frontiers that we kind of go into. And that is exactly the same in the digital space as well. What we have as an opportunity within the social media space is a community-focused opportunity where we can think about like what are TikTok creators, podcasters doing from a community perspective, and that is, tonally, thematically challenging, norms of like how you can be funny alongside talking about some really kind of sensitive and challenging cases. How you can kind of be light-hearted, have different styles of conversations. For us, that's a really interesting opportunity and a really interesting challenge in terms of how we can kind of go into some of those kind of conversations and create some productions and commissions that sit within that space. For us, what we don't want to be doing is creating stuff that goes too far, pushes too far beyond the borders. But what we want to do is really kind of test the areas and the Venn diagram of what traditional true crime looks like from a TV broadcaster, but stays true to our kind of principles.
So outside history and true crime, are there any other sweet spots, particular genres you're interested in?
Well, I mean, they are our sweet spots, they are our genres. I would say true crime is a little bit harder to kind of get beyond in terms of a genre, because we are essentially a little bit more kind of traditional in terms of our mindset, although the approach and the storytelling approach can be a little bit more kind of thematically different to our kind of standard approach on a linear. I think history is the one that we can be a little more playful with, because essentially every story has an element of history, has the past ingrained within it. And I think for us, it's much more interesting to kind of look at how we can tell interesting historical stories or stories about the past in a very different way than we maybe normally would do on a more mainstream history broadcaster or mainstream history channel. And so for us, that might be thinking about how like a comedy ents broadcaster or channel would do it, or looking at like shiny floor or panel show formats, or it might be more investigative documentary style approaches or reality approaches. And so for us, it's kind of really testing the boundaries from a genre perspective, how you can tell historical stories. That to me is really, really interesting because it can be so much more playful.
Brilliant. Sam, final question. In terms of how a producer approaches you, what do you want them to do when they come to you?
I want them to come with very top line. I don't want like loads of reams of documentation. I don't want like multi-page treatments. I don't want anyone to feel like they're wasting their time if we get to a quick no. I really want straight to the kind of the core of the idea. Could be a paragraph, could be a one-pager. I want the hook first. That's to me is the kind of the core principle. We've got to start with that. It's not a contract that we're signing on that. We don't need to necessarily deliver that. We've got to leave room for surprise when we get to production and that kind of thing. But for me, it's really about that hook. Like, how are we going to be doing something that's like new, interesting, innovative from a format perspective, going to be new and interesting in terms of the talent that we work with and how we develop new talent. But it's got to start with that hook. Like, what is that kind of new and interesting kind of route in for us?
Brilliant. Sam Pearson, lovely to speak to you, and thanks for coming to the event.
Lovely to speak to you guys.
Cheers.